Legends of Tomorrow Season 3, Episode 9, Beebo, the God of War. So this is a pretty good mid-season finale for the show. Definitely funny. I love the fact that the whole anachronism was, like, young Stein was somehow, sent to the past, and he ended up running into a bunch of Vikings, and they basically had this little, Tickle Me Elmo kind of ripoff toy, and it was Beebo, and it became their God of War, and that's how the Vikings decided to stay, and they changed North America to New Valhalla. So that was really funny. That was, like, absolutely hilarious. I was like, I cannot believe that this is the anachronism that earned a level 12, because Gideon said 10 didn't do it justice. It was this little, touch me, rub my stomach toy that says I'm hungry and stuff like that, or I'm sleepy. And that is what led the Vikings to change all of history, because they didn't go back home. And I was like, this is absolutely hilarious. It was just a really silly way to kind of do the mid-season finale, but I thought it was so funny. And then it was a really good episode. I just thought it was a hilarious start. And of course, dealing with the aftermath of the crossover, where last week we unfortunately had Stein die on the show. They actually have, young Stein. So, we get to see him. It starts off with him in 92, and he's going to the store to get Beebo, and this is one of my favorite parts of the episode. When he shoots the arrow, for people who don't watch the show Arrow, they were playing the Arrow music when he was shooting the arrow, and that was like the actual Arrow series theme song, or like, the little beat when it's like getting really tense. That was from Arrow, so I thought that was like the funniest thing, that they actually played some of the Arrow music in the show, because it was just funny. But he gets Beebo, and we actually see an anachronism kind of in motion, which I thought was actually really cool, because he just vanishes. Like, it wasn't, there was nothing to it. It was just like, poof, as he's running, he just gets teleported through time. And I thought that was actually a really cool thing to show us, because it was something that I've always wondered. Insanely simple answer: people just get teleported and that's it. There's no, there's nothing to it. They literally just, they're in, where they belong in one point, and then the next second they're just somewhere else, and that's just pretty much it. So it was a very simple answer, but it was like, okay, I wasn't expecting something insane, but it was kind of cool to see that, where it was just like, poof, that's just how it happens. Like, they'll just be going, doing their thing, and then boom, next second they're in anachronism in a totally different century. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But the Legends going through this episode, they have to deal in the beginning of the episode, at least, they have to deal with the new Captain Cold, Planet X Captain Cold, and he was hilarious. Like, it was really funny watching him, because he's so nice to everybody, and he starts off, he's like, you guys need to process your grief, and he makes the little Stein puppet and stuff to try to talk with everybody, and I love that whole little montage. And then of course it gets really serious when it gets to Jax, because that's not really funny to him. But I love that. I thought that was really funny. And then we have, Captain Cold and Heatwave together again, so that was pretty awesome too. And the two of them are kind of having a back and forth, where Snart wants to help Mick, because he's an alcoholic, so he changes all the beer and stuff. I guess it fits for Mick's character, because I was like, I don't know why he wouldn't just tell Gideon, hey, change it back, give me like a regular beer. But I mean, that's just Mick, because it's just like, it actually makes sense that he wouldn't think of that. He's just angry, and he wouldn't think, hey, Gideon, just make me a normal beer, because that's all he had to do. It's not like she would say no, because it's not like a rule, I mean, well, maybe I don't know. Sometimes Gideon does some, like, real human stuff, so you never really know what's going to happen. But them throughout the episode I thought was pretty cool, and they're, as it, continues on, we find out that Snart was kind of dealing with his grief as well, because he lost his best friend. So I thought that was actually kind of cool with the two of them. I don't know how long Snart is going to stay on the show. I don't know if he's, like, officially back. I was trying to look, but I ended up missing it, whether or not it said Wentworth Miller, who's the actor. I missed if it said he was, like, a special guest appearance or any of that stuff, so I don't know how long he's going to be back on the show. But with the way they're doing stuff, of course, Stein unfortunately passing away, and then by the end of this episode, Jax does leave. So they did have two characters leave the show, which is kind of what I thought they were going to do with the crossover. When Stein died, I thought they were going to bring the Ray in, and I thought, he was going to be the one that stayed, and it ended up being Snart, which was like a huge twist to me. So Snart comes in and is like, oh, Stein dies, so now they have Snart. And then Jax leaves at the end of this episode, and Constantine shows up at the end as well, which was super freaking cool, which is really funny, because I read that he was coming back somewhere, but I completely forgot while watching the episode. And then, Sarah goes through and, like, just, the lighter flicks, and then it's like, oh crap, John Constantine is here. So that was super awesome. But they got their characters. When somebody leaves, of course, somebody else comes in. So I don't know how permanent either of these characters are going to be. I would love it. I mean, I was one of the people that wanted Constantine to show up in season 2. I wanted him to instantly become a main character since, unfortunately, his show got canceled. But the CW is bringing like the animated Constantine show in on the CW Seed. I'm not sure when that premieres, but I'll definitely be having some reviews when that comes out. Um, but yeah, like they're going like all in on Constantine. So him being back in the show's live action, I think he might be sticking around. I would love to see that because I love Constantine. I love the actor that plays him. So that would just be really awesome because he did a great job in the series, which is why he's still Constantine now, even though that show's been canceled and they kind of moved him into the Arrowverse. So looking forward to that when the show comes back, but I don't know how long they'll be sticking around Captain Cold as well as Constantine. But before of course, the ending little surprise with the new our new appearance, but we definitely had some cool stuff going. The team dealing with their emotions, of course, was a big moment. Sarah's the one who had to kind of talk to the team, because her whole thing with Start was like, we kind of process our grief through violence and stuff like that, where they're kind of just pack it up and move on. Like in the very beginning, she's like, I want you to take your emotions and put them in a box and then close the box. We got a mission to do. Like that's what she was doing, was just kind of hiding it all away. So I definitely liked the way it was playing out throughout the episode, where at some point she just couldn't ignore it. It's like we have to, excuse me, consider what we've lost. And she talks about how she just lost someone important, and she doesn't want to lose anybody else. Which, of course, she did. Kind of the normal thing when the character's like that really tough character. They're like, all right, I don't want to lose anybody else, so everybody go away, and then I'll somehow beat Damien Dark and his daughter, all by myself. So of course they tell her like that's a terrible idea, because they go through their whole process with Beebo. Everything seems to work out fine. It's like, all right, Beebo Day is no longer a thing, which I love that they had Agent Sharp throughout the episode, because the anachronisms were like kind of cementing in time really, really fast, which I thought was super funny, where she's like, oh, Beebo Day, and it's like, well, crap, we got to fix that. And then once they do it, Agent Sharp is like, oof, Thor Day is saved, or, whatever she said. It was like, Thor Day, was like, yeah, it's like, crap, like, we thought we fixed it. And that's when Damien Dark comes in as Thor, which is super cool. He comes in, just drops with the lightning and everything. It was like, yeah, he can appropriately pull that off because he has magical powers. So he and his daughter come in, and then it's like, all right, well, how the F are we going to solve this problem? But of course, you just have the team work together. Agent Sharp actually stayed with the team as well. They were clearly hinting at some stuff that Sarah might end up with Sharp, which I thought was interesting, because when they're like drinking with the guys, Sharp is like, oh, I'm not really the husband type, and they show Sarah kind of look at it. It's like, huh, it don't say. And it's like, they're clearly putting some obvious hints in that. So I don't know what that means exactly, especially with how things were playing out with the Time Bureau. Like everything is just so screwed up. Like Rip has been sent to prison. Everything's just kind of crazy. Like they're dealing with Mollis, who also, I can't say he makes an appearance, but we see his dimension, which I thought was very cool when they actually go through and beat Dark and his daughter. They actually go to, or Sarah kind of gets teleported to, like this in-between dimension, which I thought was interesting, because when it happened, Damien and his daughter weren't there. Like she got teleported to like this blank space where she says like she felt like the feeling was just like absolute emptiness. And I thought that was very interesting, because I was like, okay, well, is that something that happened on purpose? Is it like this weird thing where, whatever this teleporting, this time traveling little rock is, if they use that and someone kind of hitches a ride, are they automatically sent there? Because not only was she sent to Mollis's dimension, but there was also like just a rip in time right next to her, and then Sharp was able to just pull her out. So it's like, okay, well, is that gonna happen every time? Like if you hitch a ride and you're not supposed to, are you sent to Mollis's dimension? So that was definitely interesting, and Sarah kind of has her little, like I said, you can't really say like heart to heart with Mollis, but he says his evil villain stuff. I'm gonna be here, and darkness, and bad stuff. So that'll happen later. So we'll see what goes on with that. I would love it if Constantine was sticking around, and somehow Mollis ended up being like this crazy, super powerful demon, and then Constantine like had to stick around. That would be pretty cool. But I like that scene where we have just like this blank space. There's like a dead tree in the background and fog. It was like, it's the perfect desolate location. It's just a random spot with a bunch of fog and like a couple dead trees in the background. So I like the design for that place, and it's just like an interesting sort of purgatory like scenario that was almost like Mollison's own little pocket dimension, and I just thought that was a cool concept that was introduced, and I feel like considering they showed a brand new location, and that's sort of where Mollis originates from. I feel like we will see that location come back. Maybe it won't be until like towards the end of the season, and it's like somehow they have to beat him inside his own dimension to trap him there, something like that. But that's just my theory on that, and that won't come to be until like the end of the season when they actually face off against Mollis. Anyway, but going through the episode, they deal with the Beebo thing. They deal with, Damien Dark and his daughter. They have another great scene with Ray inside of Beebo. I thought that was hilarious. Them doing the voice, and it was like, you guys will go back to Greenland, which will be melting soon because of global warming, which is also real. And obviously in the voice, it was just so much funnier. But I loved all of that. The action in this episode I thought was fairly decent. It wasn't like super crazy. Like it was a lot of like charging and stuff. But the ending fight scene I thought was pretty cool. We got to see definitely some cool moments. Like some of the close-up stuff I thought was pretty sweet. But all in all, it was a good episode. They solved the problem. Everything's said and done. And then it's like, all right, we have to basically go, from this point forward, we go into the emotional element of Jax. Because throughout the episode, of course, it's him dealing with the young version of Stein and him being like, I want to save him. Zari is just like, time and space, who gives a crap? Like, she's just like, just go for it. Like, that's her thing. She's like, I found this super amazing, absolutely phenomenally rare loophole. I'm sure it'll work for you. And I was like, she does not care about space or time or anything working out like it's supposed to. She's just like, go ahead. I tell my brother, not to die and all that stuff. And it was super funny. It's like, I know where it comes from. It totally makes sense. You want to save the people that you love from dying. But it was just so funny. I was like, man, she's using like this one tiny example that she found to just be like, yeah, just tell him not to die. Like that was, sure it was like 2 days ago. It was like a week ago he was dead. But, just tell him not to die. Everything will be cool. No big deal. I'm like, she does not care about time travel. She does not care about the timeline, how anything's supposed to work. She's just like, go ahead and do it. So I just thought it was super funny, like the way that how she was just so confident that it would, probably just work out. But, after they play Mortal Kombat, which I thought was super cool that they were playing Mortal Kombat, Jax decides that he's going to take Stein back, and they definitely do the Back to the Future thing, which I did love. They also did it early on in the episode because even though Stein mentioned that he didn't like Back to the Future, he did say Great Scott when he first got teleported, and I was like, well, that's totally Back to the Future. Like him going through time and then saying Great Scott, that's a Back to the Future reference. So when he said it at the end, he was like, oh, that movie where it's like, it's crappy because, time travel, like all that farce and stuff. And I was like, he likes Back to the Future. He's just saying that. He doesn't want to admit it because the science is like kind of wonky, but he likes Back to the Future. So I thought that was awesome. I don't know if that was just me. I'm sure I picked that up because I love Back to the Future so much, but I was like, no, he likes Back to the Future because that's why he said Great Scott. So I thought that was pretty cool. But, they try to do the Back to the Future thing where Jax is like, just here's a letter, like don't open it until this point. And then, of course, he finds out that nothing changed, so he goes back. And Stein tells him, was like, yeah, I already burned the letter because I cannot, not only do I not want to tempt, what has already happened or, change what's already been done, but I would also be changing the good things in your life. Like, and like, I love the line that he gave him where he was like, from my perspective, I have a long life, but to you, I'm a ghost. I thought that was a great line. And it's like, he basically said exactly what Stein, the older version of Stein said. And it's like, you have to live on without me. It was like, I clearly, even though it sucks, I would love to spend more time. I clearly had great moments. And I spent that time, I did what I needed to do. And now you need to live on. Like, you can't be stuck on, on me having died. And I thought that was really good. It was like, he apparently he just never changed. Young Stein, old Stein. It's all the same. It was like, I lived my life, and you now have to live yours. Like, you have to go and live your chapters. You have to, make your chapters in your book. So I thought that was really cool. Of course, it was sad, again, but I thought that was really well done. And, of course, that's what leads to Jax deciding he's got to, he has to leave, at least temporarily. So that should be interesting to see how that plays out. The team is, they lost both members of Firestorm, in a sense, and it's just like, it's weird. It's going to be weird not having those characters there. It's always weird. Like, that's one of the things with this show. You'll have characters that come along, and then they'll take off. Like Hawkman and Hawkgirl, like, they left at the end of the first season, but I still was thinking, like, man, I wonder if they'll ever come back. Like, I think, because, like, the way they write the characters, they work so well as teams. It's always like, when somebody's gone, or, somebody dies, it's always like, how's that going to change the team dynamic? Like, bringing Nate on was the thing where it was like, all right, how does that change the team dynamic? And he's awesome. Nate is like the most ridiculous character in the universe. But that's just how the show works. Zari coming along, she doesn't give a crap about space and time, but I like her character. Like, they always make new characters work, and it's instantly like, man, they just meld so well with the character. So whenever somebody leaves, it's like, that's gonna really change up the show. It's not gonna make the show any worse, but it's always really well done the way they do the characters. Either new characters coming in or characters leaving out. So I think it should be interesting to watch the team kind of deal with that. I also don't know what they're gonna do without their engineer. I don't know if that is really gonna be brought up a lot, but I was like, he is also the engineer, because that was another big thing where it was like, if he left, who else would be able to fix the actual Wave Rider? So they might find a way to they might just skirt past all that stuff. But it sucks to see him go. It's like, we already lost Stein, and then Jax does actually leave, which totally makes sense. Him saying like, if I'm on this ship, I can't move on if I'm on this ship. Like, that just makes sense. So for now, he has to go off, do his own thing, have a little adventure. Maybe we'll see him come back, possibly at the end of this season. I think that'll be cool, but who knows? Who knows when he'll make a return and how all that's going to end up playing out. But of course, after we have that moment where he decides to, take his leave and go on his personal kind of journey, we have Constantine show up. I'll be honest, at first I totally thought it was Rip, because I couldn't distinguish the voice. And it was funny, I knew it was British, and I just assumed it was Rip. I was like, oh crap, Rip escaped. Plus they both had, it was dark, so they both had like the, sort of same color type of jackets and stuff. I thought he was, kind of back to his duster. And I totally thought it was Rip, and I was like, oh crap, how did Rip escape, the Time Police prison? And then he just kept talking, and I was like, oh crap, it's Constantine. So that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, I just thought one British dude was just the other British dude. But Constantine is back, so that is super cool, and he talks about this demon that knows Sarah's name. I don't know if he was referencing Mollis, which is kind of why I brought up that theory of, like, it would be cool if Mollis was an actual demon. So I don't know if that's exactly what's happening. I think that would be great, because that would basically mean Constantine has to stay on the show. So I hope they say that, like, in the very beginning when the show comes back. It's like, yeah, Mollis is actually, like, a crazy, super powerful time-traveling demon. I'm like, yes, Constantine, second half of the season, all Constantine. So can't wait to see how that plays out, but they're definitely getting into some demon work, which I think should be pretty cool. And also, it seems like what they're doing is tying back to Constantine's show. I don't think it's going to be Mollis when they actually do come back. It would be really cool, but it's not good. I don't think it's going to be Mollis that they're talking about, because a big thing with Constantine's story is that he's trying to save this girl's soul, because he screwed up a mission, and this girl's soul was stolen by a demon. He mentions that this girl is possessed by a demon, so it's a little bit different than the story that was actually in the Constantine series. But maybe they can kind of just morph it and say, like, her soul was taken, and then over time, this demon decided to kind of taunt me or whatever, because that's kind of what demons do to Constantine. So it ended up like taking over the girl's body, something like that. So I think that would be a cool thing if that was actually where they were headed, where it was like, this is a way to kind of continue the story from his show and like make the resolution, because that was one of the things I was hoping for, is that somehow they would find ways to bring in like these small elements from his series and kind of conclude them. But there are like three main characters. It was like Constantine and two other people as well, and there's some other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that they can't just bring right over and then solve the problem. Plus they would have to get the other actors, as well. So I don't know if that's exactly what they're doing with the whole possessed girl thing, but it kind of seemed that way. I was like, oh, this is reminiscent of the actual story from his show. So we'll see how that plays out in general. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. Like, Constantine is back. That should be fun. I don't know how he's going to work with the team. Like, he is, as sarcastic as he is, like, he's kind of douchey sometimes. Like, he's just really funny, though. So I don't know how that's going to play out. He's going to be hitting on all the women because he's kind of a douchebag sometimes. But he's an awesome character. So I can't wait to see how that plays out, how they do the magic, and just in general, how all that's going to work. So I'm super excited for that. I also, considering he's now back in the live action shows, I cannot wait for the animated show. If you haven't seen the trailer for the animated Constantine show, definitely check it out. It's super bloody, by the way. Like, it's not going to be nearly as crazy on the live action stuff. But the animated version, he fought some demons, and then he let out another demon to kill those demons, and it was just like absolute gore fest. But it was amazing to me. I thought it was super cool. So check that out if you're interested. I think that premieres next year as well. I think that comes out, just like Black Lightning comes out. Looking forward to that too. But yeah, this should be a fun second half of the season. It sucks to see Jax go, but Captain Cold has made a return. We have the nice version of Captain Cold. We got Constantine coming back. So it should be pretty cool going into the second half of this season. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. And I would love to know how you guys think things are going to play out with Constantine joining the team, with this new version of Captain Cold. We got, I think, a good showing of what he can do. As far as like this version of him, it's fairly simple. Like, it's just him on the team. He's just a nicer version of Snart. So I think they kind of showed us what we're going to get from him. But I would love to know how you guys are feeling about Constantine making an appearance and being a part of the team now. How long do you want him on there? I mean, like I said, for me, I wanted him just to be a part of the show. I wanted him in season 2. I was like, sweet, he's in the Arrowverse officially. I just want to see him, be in Legends of Tomorrow. Like, they even reference the last time they met. He's the reason that Sarah came back. He did like that crazy dark spell, and that's probably why this random demon knows Sarah's name, because she was dead, and he was like, all right, well, here's a crazy super spell, and now she's back. So, I would love to see him stay on the show, because I just love Constantine, mostly because of the show. Like, I didn't really know Constantine before that, but ever since that show, I'm like, I like Constantine now, like, a lot. So, I really want him on the show, but would love to know what you guys think about him joining the team, how long you want him to stick around, do you care, do you not care? Of course, like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general as well, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.